What is your purpose? What is my purpose? This question is scary for some people. I recently met an ex-colleague of mine, and we were having a discussion. And in the process of the discussion, I put the question out there. I said, "So, what is your purpose? Do you know what your purpose is?" And at the moment I asked the question, the atmosphere kind of changed. I could visibly notice the body kind of tighten, the face become a bit flushed, the speech kind of get a bit shaky, and uh, you know, shoulders very tensed. And after a bit of a pause and some held back breath, this person was like, "Oh my God, that's such a huge question, such a big question you're putting in front of me, and I'm feeling uncomfortable right now, and it's scary. It's scary." And the reason I smile is because for me, it's been completely the opposite. I at age 11, the question came to me, which was, why am I here? What am I here for? What is all this about? Um, and so my journey has been the opposite. It's been like, how could you not ask this question? How could you go through your life without even thinking about this or considering it? And well, what I want to say, uh, for this video is for those like my friend, my ex-colleague, who this question is scary for them. It kind of pushes them, makes them pull away and pull back, instead of people like me who are like, "Ooh, let me lean in. This is very exciting and interesting to talk about." So this is for you out there. If you're like, "Oh my goodness, it's too big a question," and I want to walk you through and say, how can you move from it being too big a question to something that it shouldn't be too big a question? It's just like any other question. And what makes me be able to say that, and how can we get there, right? And perhaps I can start with a little story about what happened during a recent introduction to purpose discovery. So every month I run or I host, facilitate, guide an introduction to purpose discovery. So it's a monthly gathering, about 90 minutes. It's for people to get a taste, a flavor of what a 6-month purpose discovery journey could be. Is it for them, etc., etc. So the next one is on May 16th, and of course after that there will be June, July, etc. You can go to my website, which is in the link below, and see when is the next one if you're interested to join. And even if you're not available to join that one, on my website there's a way to schedule time with me and to kind of learn about this, and I'm more than happy to connect with you. Back to the story. So what happened in a recent purpose discovery introduction to purpose discovery program is I was leading a guided meditation. It so happened on this one, and the question that was at the core of the guided meditation is, what is my purpose in this lifetime? And one of the participants, went through the meditation, and as we were kind of reflecting upon what emerged in that moment, one of the participants, she said that when we were making space, I just felt this huge, expansive emptiness, nothingness, that was just so scary for me. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm feeling so scared right now with this emptiness. And so I listened further, and then she said, well, and then you mentioned about this question about what is my purpose in this lifetime. And she went on to say, I saw this huge boulder-sized seed, right? It's a seed, but the size of a boulder, like sitting in front of me. And I was like, oh my God, what a huge question you're asking. And it's too big, it's too big. But as I kind of followed your voice and listened to the space, sat with my breath and followed your guidance, what I noticed was this seed began to reduce in size and became smaller and smaller and smaller and continued to reduce until the point of time that I could hold it in my hand just like a regular seed. And then what happened to me was this amazing epiphany where I was like, oh my goodness, it's just a normal seed. It's a regular question. It's so small. And what happened? And okay, I listened to this and I said, would you be willing to hear my reflection on this? And of course, she asked me, what do you think? And when I reflected back to her, what I witnessed was initially she needed, or what was required in order for that seemingly large question to be even held and contained and begin a relationship with, was space. You need space to allow that. Then what seems to be rather big becomes much smaller. I mean, astronauts say this again and again, right? They go to space, they go out to the and when they're in space, they look at this Earth and like, my God, my goodness, what a tiny little thing this is in the whole vastness of space. And we think, wow, this Earth is huge and everything. But this is how life is, isn't it? When we create enough room for something, we're actually able to hold it. Anything that has enough room is able to hold something. So when she made space, what seemed rather big shrunk into this tiny piece. And so it's actually what I want to offer here is the question only appears big, it feels big, because we haven't yet made space for it. And it's understandable, we're in this thing of go faster, go stronger, do more, optimize. We've got these decades of distraction that are behind us, like achieve, 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 produce, consume. And that's the cycle we're so conditioned with. And then on top of that, we have all our biases and all our predetermined things. And then we think, goodness, this is just too big. Where am I going to fit this huge boulder into the midst of all of it? So we just leave it aside, right? So with all these decades, we are seldom asking, who am I? What am I here for? And this leads me to kind of another piece to talk about. So something I'm doing right now is that I'm undergoing my IFS training, which is like internal family systems, beautiful educational piece there. If any of you want to explore this piece around understanding these different parts that make us. And one of the things that the instructors were teaching about was this concept of the self as the sun. Some people call it self, I call it soul. The divine, basically it's this divine part of you, the more than just this bodily, mental, human form that we are so conditioned and used to dance with. So that's the sun. And the sun, the truth about the sun is it's always there, it's always shining. Even when the world is turned away and you've got the darkness on the other side of the world, the sun is always there. And I joke about this I've joked about this for quite a long time with friends, or quip about it many times and say, oh, if only the sun came out, if only the sun popped out. And I'm like, well, the sun is always there. It's the clouds that are actually covering the sun. So you cannot see the sun because of the clouds. And that's exactly it, isn't it? It is these clouds of all our thoughts, all our preconceived notions, all our conditioning of decades of the way we've lived our lives, the way we've gone about our lives, our biases, our limiting beliefs, our perceptions of how life is. And we're like, yeah, it is what it is. It's never going to change, whatever, right? And I'm just going to live this life like this. But you know what? No one's actually asking you to, well, let me say this first. When someone asks you in the midst of all this cloudiness, like, what is your purpose? It almost feels like someone is yanking you and saying, stare at the sun and you will know that is this question, like, oh my God, it's so huge. And no one's asking you to stare at the sun. My invitation is, what if you enter and allow a little bit of the light of the sun to illumine the space around you? What if you allow a little bit of the sun to touch your skin and just feel the warmth of the sun on your skin? Doesn't that feel beautiful? During those moments when the sun pops out, you're like, ah, yes, sun, your whole being just lights up. But what about the sun of who you are? And imagine how much it can light you up and what that can do. So, this is what I'm trying to say, that soul level purpose is not created, it's not forced, it's not something you have to strive, you don't have to optimize it, um, you don't have to make it better and better and run after and scale it and grow it and productize it and market it. None of that. It's more of sitting back and allowing to see what's already shining. And that's why it's a discovery. You discover it and watch the clouds slowly dissipate. And this is exactly what we do in the purpose discovery journey of 6 months, is how do we work with those technologies of understanding to allow the clouds to slowly dissipate. And this brings me to the point around fears, right? So I've heard these fears from different people. I've had these multiple conversations with different people, likely you have as well. And typically, the top three kind of fears that I've heard around what is my purpose. Let me first say the three of them, and then we can look into them a little more in detail. The first one is like, what if I don't like the answer? The second one is like, what if it doesn't make me money? I mean, what am I doing all this for if it's not going to make me money? And third, it's just too big, dude. I just don't have space for this right now. So let's look at them one at a time. So first, what if I don't like the answer? I'm going to say something here that is true. You are never not going to like it. I'm going to say it again. You're never not going to like it. Never. Because this soul level purpose is the most authentic, true, genuine you. You are going to have the opposite effect. It's going to have the opposite effect of you. You're going to love it. You're going to be like, wow, this is going to make you tap dance through life. You know? And I would say actually that's a really good sign. If you don't like it, there's something there that is probably that you haven't found it yet. It's not yet there, you know, or you've not yet come across that expression. So keep looking. Yeah. So it really feels like you're coming home. Oh, you know, you come home, you know, when you lie in your bed, I mean, I don't know about you, but I travel around to different places. When I come back, it's like your bed. Oh, that feeling. That's what soul level purpose feels like, right? It's not like something like, what if I don't like the answer? You know, if you, some people are like, oh my God, if you're going to say purpose, then it's going to be like, I have to become some renunciate, become a guru, go live in solitude, whatever. If that is for you, believe me, you're going to love that. You're going to love that. Second, what if it doesn't make me money? I've made another couple of videos. I think I've mentioned this. What if it doesn't make? In fact, I think there's one video around what if it doesn't make you money. Check out my channel. It's there, and you can go a bit more deeper into that piece. And I'm going to say something now that probably many people will not dare to say, right? And that is that purpose may generate income. It may not generate income. Both are equally valid. Both are equally delightful, right? You know, we have been conditioned again by concepts such as the westernized version of Ikigai that says, if you find your passion, you find your purpose, then it has to make you some money, right? So it's a bit of a twisted, different way of looking at it. And so we try to attach, it needs to make me money. What am I going to do all of this? If this is like my whole life is going to be lived around this, what if it doesn't make me money? And what I want to ask the question around here is like, does raising a child to be responsible, beautiful, wholesome, is that something that makes you money? Sitting with a friend and listening to their heartfelt sharing, is it going to make you money? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, last weekend I spent time with a friend. It just so happened certain things emerged, beautiful thoughts, but beautiful expressions of the being of the person. If I was a coach, I could have charged a bomb for that session. In the coaching practice, I could charge a bomb for that session. But the delight, the joy that came out of that was so much more meaningful. And a day later, he said, I think he sent a text like, Thank you for holding space for me. That was way more meaningful, way more fulfilling than monetary peace, right? So what I want to say is that resist limiting yourself to defining success by economic terms alone. There are so many, in fact, I would say the real joy of life, the real fulfillment of life, the real meaning of life is found way beyond the economics of it. Economics is one way, one byproduct, right? And it could and couldn't happen. But let that not be the limiting factor to follow and discover what your life's purpose is about. It could be rewilding. It could be so many different things. And in that other video, I explain more. But uh, yeah, that's kind of what I want to say. And of course, there are examples, right? In a video, I think I talked about probably a couple of videos ago about Michael Singer, Paulo Coelho, who, Michael Singer was basically, he's like, man, I just want to meditate. I found this meditation thing. I love it. That's all I want to do. But as he followed, life kind of unfolded in beautiful ways or in interesting ways. And he went on to build a $3.5 billion company, right? Paulo Coelho wrote his book, I think The Alchemist, in 2 weeks or something like this. I think he sold initially 90 copies and was like supposed to be, the publisher was like, I don't think this is really going to sell stuff. Nobody wants stuff like this. But fast forward to today, he sold 150 million copies, multiple languages, etc., etc. Now, both these guys never pursued the money-making aspect of it. They just allowed their soul to come forth and followed what their soul led them to do, and those are the... So it can make you money. I'm not saying it won't. But let not the money-making aspect be the one that holds you back. So I would offer a slightly different question. Instead of asking, will this make me money, or how much money will this make me, is to actually ask the question, like Bill Plotkin says, what is my position on the ecology of life? What is my eco niche that I'm here for? Or asked differently, what is mine to give, right? And so I leave you with that around the question of, will it make me money? The third one is, it's too big. It's just too big. It's too complex, right? And I'm going to say, whether you ask it or not, it's always there. Here's an interesting analogy. So, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, if there was something that was pretty simple, someone would say, come on, it's easy. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. And rocket science is this benchmark that's been used for showing someone that something is not as complicated as that, right? And that's the level of complexity, or the benchmark of complexity. And there's a story around, I don't know how accurate I am on the story, but my understanding of the story goes like this. Elon Musk, he's one of the things he's well known for is this SpaceX and bringing these reusable kind of rockets back and forth from space. Sure, there have been failures, sure some have burnt, but nevertheless the fundamental stuff exists. How did he get there? He refused to believe this myth that rocket science is too complex. He studied rocket science, as far as if my accuracy of the story is right. He studied rocket science. He looked at the books and he says, why not study it? And that's the beauty, right? One of the beauty of being human is if we choose to apply ourselves to something, what can be seemingly big becomes just simple, normal, everyday. So then finding and living your purpose just becomes normal. It doesn't be too big. It's not too big, right? I'm also in my life, I have a lot of experience with program management. And one of the fundamentals of program management, project management, etc., is break everything down to its smallest pieces. As complex as it looks, the moment you look at it, oh my God, it's so complex. Climbing Mount Everest, that's complex, but break it down to its little pieces, then step by step, and bam, you're at the top of the mountain, right? So this is the progressive way. So what I want to say is that this voice is only going to keep getting louder. It gets louder the older you get. So when you're 35, it's quite insistent. When you're 45, it becomes urgent. When you're 80 on your deathbed, and many people have reported this on their deathbed, right? Man, there was this thing that was burning inside me, and I knew I had to do it, but I just kept saying no, 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 or later, 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 someday, someday, someday. And here I'm on my deathbed, and I so regret that I didn't follow that, but I just kind of stuck to the usual script of stuff that I was told to do, and I should have done that, right? So what I want to say is that the question will begin to shrink, just like it did for this person who joined the course. When you stop running from it, it begins to shrink, and you face it and go, it's not that big. It's not that big at all. I've worked with multiple people on this. I work with multiple people on this. I did it myself. It's not that big a question. At the same time, if you feel, oh my goodness, that question is not doing it for me. This, what is your purpose? It just feels too abstract, too huge for me to hold. I would offer you a different alternative, a different entry point. The entry point of love. Love that has the capacity to hold all things and everything and more. Love where everything just melts into easy goo, easy stuff. So instead of asking, what is my purpose? Perhaps reframing the question to say, what is my unique way of loving the world? What is my unique way of loving the world? Not what is my career, not what is my passion, not what is my calling, not what is my role. How does love move through me naturally, effortlessly? And for this, I have attached in the notes below, in the description below, there's a link to a related YouTube meditation video. It's a 10-minute video, and basically, I'm not going to do it here, of course, but basically it is just getting into a space, creating some space, asking this question to see what emerges: an image, a word, a feeling, a fragrance, a color, and seeing how that begins to open up as we create space for this question. Yeah, so check out the link in the description below. If not there, in my on my channel, you will be able to find it. Guided meditation, you will be able to find it there as well. So as I said, breaking the things down to the smallest parts. So Jesus in the Gospels, he said something along these lines, that a mustard seed, I don't know if I cook a lot, so I use mustard seeds. A mustard seed is so tiny, and yet it has a potential to become this huge tree, right? And the birds of the air will come and find their nest in it. And he says the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed that is within you. And then elsewhere he says the kingdom of God is within you, right? And that care and watering, nurturing of that little seed develops into this mustard tree. And that's very much how soul level purpose works. It feels so small, tiny, and you're like, what is this potential of this? But all that is required for that tree to emerge, all of that is packed into this tiny seed. All the DNA, all the instructions are all here. It's just about finding it, creating space for it, watering it, nurturing it, giving it the right soil, all of those conditions to allow that soul level purpose to emerge. And that is exactly what the purpose discovery process is all about. 6 months, creating enough space, slowing down, creating the right conditions, right? The nourishment, to be able to nourish that, what emerges as little by little, not forcing it, not pushing it, not optimizing it, not trying to scale it, not trying to launch it as a product as the rest of the world tells us to do, go faster and faster and faster. No, but learning to trust it, learning to allow it to move through you, right? So that's why 6 months. There's no, I don't know if you read Asterix and Obelix, but there was this one Asterix and Obelix where Getafix creates these acorns with Well, the Romans keep cutting down all the trees, so the Getafix has to create these acorns where they can plant a tree overnight, right? So you throw the acorn on the ground and boom, the tree just pops up in the air. A similar thing with this is not a Jack and the Beanstalk. You get some magic beans from somewhere, you chuck it the next day in the morning, this huge tree's up above your house. That's not how it works. That's why 6 months, right? It takes time. These things, you're talking about, you're working across decades of conditioning, and you can't expect overnight that it's going to change, right? Again, something that this is not an overnight result thing. It takes consistency, it takes the practice, it takes that guidance, that kind of woodwork, right? So what I'm really inviting you is to come back to recognize that the sun is already there. Your soul is already shining, just the clouds that are blocking it. And the work is really to remember, and remembering that's what takes time. So if you're interested, there is a free 90-minute introduction to purpose discovery, next one on May 16th. If not that, June, July, every month there's going to be one. Feel free to join. And if you like, if you're not able to make one of those, you can always connect with me, write to me. I don't ask people to subscribe to this channel. I don't ask for followers. I don't ask for likes. If it resonates for you, let's talk. I really love that connection. I really love to create a community of people who are working on these things, who are seeking these things, who are clarifying these things. So that's my invitation to you. And I'm building the next cohort for the 6 months purpose discovery journey. So if you like, you're more than welcome to join. I visited the Grand Canyon. I did my own kind of random, hike down and back up. And you can do that through life. Why not? At the same time, if I wanted to take a much more informed and a deeper experience of the Grand Canyon, I would have hired a guide to walk me through. And I remember visiting Rome a few years ago, and I did that. I hired a guide who expounded so much more to me about that place than I would have ever kind of discovered on my own, in a very short amount of time. So that's my invitation to you, as someone who's walked this journey, who's led others on this journey of purpose level discovery. What if you could come to a space where it doesn't feel so scary? Or if it's scary, there's someone there to kind of walk beside you and work through that journey. So thank you. I trust this blesses you. Thank you.